Good morning, wrestling fans. Welcome to PWR today for July 22nd, 2021. The man they call Meathead. Now joining me, Matthew Thomas. The Matthew Thomas to watch in 2021.
Yes, indeed. And I understand you were the man they call Meathead to watch just a couple days ago. We had our show preempted for a very fantastic reason.
Bucks and six. That's why I got preempted, folks. I highly recommend, if your city is at the cusp, the precipice of winning a national championship, to do what you can to be involved in it. We had our friend from the Big D fly in for one night only. We had people flying in across the country, legendary Bucks. We had, recently retired. We had Milwaukee Brewers come in. We had Green Bay Packers come in. We had Chance the Rapper. We had Dave Chappelle was in the house. Folks, when you saw those pics of the Deer District outside of Five Serve, the man they call Meathead, obviously one of them down there. And again, it's something I highly recommend.
Well, congratulations to you. Congratulations to the Bucks. Congratulations to the city of Milwaukee. What an historic event.
What people don't understand is, I know they kept saying the first time in 50 years, the city of Milwaukee has only had two legitimate championships in the entire history in the pro sports. The Milwaukee Braves, 1957, that was won in New York. The 1971 Milwaukee Bucks won the NBA championship in Boston. This was won at home.
I don't think I realized that. This was the first one to come to your city, in your city, to be won on your grounds.
That's right. So, Brewers, we're looking at you. You're next. Literally, Matthew, if the Brewers win the World Series.
I thought Bobby Lashley was next.
No, we'll get there. Matthew, again, if the Milwaukee Brewers win the World Series, Lord, take me now. I'm ready to go. I will cry like a little baby.
Well, we certainly don't wish an early departure on you. Or
to watch me cry like Rick Grimes in season 3 of Walking Dead.
Yeah, none of these are really sounding that appealing to me, to be honest with you.
Matthew, tell us about our sponsor before we get into the news for today.
The sponsor that sponsors this show is the same company whose garments you were wearing just a few short days ago when you were in the Deer District. Don't think I didn't see that wonderful Irish whip collar and elbow shirt. Available exclusively at Collar.
How did you focus on my Irish whip shirt when we had the lovely Linda Kay in the Deer District as well next to me taking a picture?
I consume all elements of a photograph, and
I was consuming all elements of that can of beer as well.
I also saw a photograph of a guy that had a couple of beers and also a pocket sub, if I'm not mistaken. Or no, I'm sorry, it was a pouch sub.
Our friend from the Big D literally had a can of beer in one hand. He had a beer stashed in a pocket on the other, and he had a sandwich in his hand and a pocket or pouch sandwich stored away for later. You can't be more Milwaukee.
Well, and the thing of it is, like, he really set a great example and precedent as far as what to wear for such a gathering. Like, what I really took away from that picture was you need attire with compartments when you go there. Like, you just can't go like your normal standard pockets and whatnot. Compartment pockets are the way to go.
Our friend from Big D, I'm so glad to see him. I was happy to see him. I gave him a big hug and some dap, and I said, I'm glad you came home for this. We needed to be here. So hopefully we see him next year at the biggest party when the man they call Meathead is celebrating his back-to-back victories in the PWR draft.
Although I think our mutual friend might have he might actually have a dog race, a little bit of stake in the whole draft, if you will, because I think there's a team out there that does kind of at least halfway resemble his namesake.
That's right. All right, let's get into the news, shall we? And we talked Bucks and 6. Let's transition into wrestling. WWE sending the Milwaukee Bucks a custom-made belt with the nameplates on the side, the picture of the deer and the Bucks and the championship logo. So the parade is later today going through Milwaukee. The Milwaukee Bucks will have their custom WWE championship belt. Now, if you remember, during the pandemic season, during the games, the Bucks were actually scripting out matches in the background. Do you remember that? Giannis had the pin. Brooke Lopez would get in some moves.
Yeah, I just want to make this one statement. I kind of hope the belt that they're sending them doesn't have the Velcro strap.
I hope it's got buckles. I mean, for the love of God, the Velcro, I just don't like the Velcro.
Man, I can't remember. It was either SmackDown or Raw, like within the last couple of weeks. I can't remember which segment it was. Maybe it was the pay-per-view, but there was a title holder that had the belt, and you not only saw it, but when they unbuckled it, you heard the Velcro. And my goodness, that was just not appealing.
No, not at all. So congratulations one more time to the Milwaukee Bucks, Bucks and 6. We've got a couple big announcements that may be rocking the wrestling world in the next few weeks. There is talk. I'm going to combine both of these together, Matthew. There is talks that not only is Daniel Bryan / Bryan Danielson, CM Punk, they may be coming back to the wrestling world. And they may be making their way back to All Elite Wrestling.
Yeah, and AEW's had some major signings. They've had some former WWE talent, but they haven't had anything as of yet on this level. If they land, not even both guys, if they land one of these guys, that is going to be the biggest move that these guys have made thus far.
And with the second show starting in August on Friday nights, Rampage, they've got room for the talent. They are loaded right now.
No, 100%. And it just takes, 1 week of watching Dynamite to see all of the storylines that they've got to keep warm, from people that aren't necessarily appearing in the actual proper program. And it's left a little bit to be desired. Like last night I think there was a press conference that lasted a minute and a half. It seems kind of a waste of a press conference to be honest, I don't think I saw any press there. So it was a press conference that no press showed up to.
Well, press conferences happen in Zooms.
Oh, that's true. That's true. I forgot we do
that. Speaking of, sorry to go back to Bucks and 6 again. Apparently somebody hacked the Zoom during the post-game press conference. And it was, if you listen close enough, somebody said, "Hey, Giannis, what does his penis taste like?" or something like that. A hacker got into the Zoom.
And his answer was?
None.
Oh, okay. They didn't reply.
Who is that person? How did he get in there? And then they moved on.
Oh, you said Zoom, ZOOM. I thought you said Zoo, ZOO. And I was thinking that maybe, that's maybe where the FTR and they were, like in a cage next to some elephants or something. Or I guess elephants aren't in cages per se, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, let's talk Fighter Fest Night 2. This was a packed show again. The crowd, speaking of Big D, was in Big D. It was in Dallas. And the opening match was the demo god, Chris Jericho, taking on the chairman, Shawn Spears. Now, the match stipulation showed that Spears could use a metal chair as a weapon, but Jericho couldn't. This got to be a pretty hot match. At the end, Tully tried to save Spears from tapping out by interfering. Here comes Sammy Guevara, pulls Tully out. The winner of the match was Chris Jericho. Remember, this is the labors of Jericho, so he's got to go through like 5 matches to get to MJF, who was on commentary last night. But Jericho wins. MJF says, for next week's match, you know what? You like breaking the rules? I'll help you break the rules. This one's going to be no DQ. And the guy that you're going to go up against robbed the bank once without a mask on. He's done all this other hardcore stuff. I'm like, oh no. Yeah, please no.
And the whole rob a bank without a mask on, that wasn't like a metaphor. That was a literal thing that the competitor he's going to face next week did.
Nick effing Gage, king of the death match, right?
Mm-hmm.
His shirt says MDK. Do you know what that stands for?
Metallica Donkey Night.
Murder, death, kill.
Oh my goodness. I don't like that.
Don't you remember Demolition Man? We just had an MDK, a murder, death, kill. I don't particularly enjoy this competitor.
Yeah.
Notice I didn't use the word wrestler. Yeah. It's not for me.
here's the thing, and we've talked about it for weeks on end now, that if AEW is making a mistake here and there, it's not many of them. Me personally, I put that in that column. AEW, as hot of a role as they've been on, they have got, and you can call it whatever you want to. You can call it Tony Khan being a big ECW guy, whatever the reason. They unfortunately, and I use the term unfortunately because it's my opinion, they have got a tendency to get in this lane, to get a little, for my taste, too far into this hardcore lane,
Yeah.
and go down what I deem is a route of a lowest common denominator. And
Low hanging fruit
unfortunately,
is what I call it.
yeah, and it's not always a fruit that you need to consume. It's like,
You don't like the taste of these grapefruits?
You don't always eat all the berries in the forest. You don't always pick and eat all the freaking mushrooms, man. And I think that's kind of what AEW has a tendency to do. And unfortunately, what I thought was an overall good show was bookmarked by AEW's continued fascination, not just with hardcore, but with straight up deathmatch wrestling.
Yeah. All right. And later in the night, we're finding out that, oh, yeah, it's okay. You got a deathmatch guy. Well, I'm going to have to bring back my most brutal version of Jericho, and it's the Painkiller from Japan. So happy to see Jericho's moving that way. I hope that because it's AEW, maybe it goes a little less. I don't think Jericho works these kind of matches.
Yeah.
We're going to have to see.
Yeah. And unfortunately, this program with MJF, as good as it's going to be to get those two guys one-on-one again, you're in a program where the suspension of disbelief is hard to obtain, because is there anybody in their right mind that thinks, he's going to lose in his second labor of Jericho and we're not going to get the match? You're telling a story. I get it. It's kind of a situational comedy thing, and I'm not likening, especially this deathmatch wrestling, to comedy, but it's, you know what? It's like the Adam West Batman episodes that were two-parters, where he and Robin were, going to fall into a pit of alligators or whatever. Are they going to survive? Tune in next time. Well, you knew they were going to
Will
survive.
Batman make it out of the vault?
Yeah.
Will Robin take his pants down? Tune in next week for...
Exactly. And unfortunately, I feel like this is what we've got with the Labors of Jericho. It's how is he going to get past it? It's not, okay, these two guys are booked fairly evenly. I'm tuning in to see the story they tell, but I'm also tuning in to see the outcome. Unfortunately, for these next 4 matches, you're not really tuning in to see the outcome.
And honestly, shouldn't this be the last labor? I mean, it seems to be going pretty extreme and only labor 2. I mean, because...
who knows what's in store for the next.
Let's move on, because honestly, it makes me sick
in any of this. All right.
I don't particularly like it. The Elite Hunter, Frankie Kaz, taking on Doc Gallows, new Impact Tag Team Champions, the Good Brothers, Buenos Hermanos. It ended up being just a Donnybrook, right? And the Elite took out Frankie. Here comes Adam Page after Kenny Omega says that he's going to go through him. I think they foreshadowed a little bit and hadn't told us about the match yet, but Don Callis said, after what Kenny Omega is going to do to you next week, what? We haven't even had a match announced yet. What it ends up being is it's going to be all of the Elite versus the Dark Order with Hangman and Page. I'm looking forward to that match, because if Hangman and the Dark Order win, Hangman gets his title shot. He shouldn't have to get it. He's number 1 contender.
Yeah. And
why is he having to work for it? He's number 1.
Right. And I think we need to get that match sooner rather than later, and we need to have that title change sooner rather than later. It's interesting. I know we're just a few weeks back into these non-daily place live crowds, but man,
they'll be back there in 2 weeks.
The heat that Omega and the Elite are getting right now, man, I don't know if it's the type of heel heat they necessarily want. They're basically my perception of what they're doing with the Elite. And I think it's a way to try to get these guys booed, because, your smart wrestling crowds, are you really going to boo, these worldwide acclaimed technical wrestlers when they want to be, And so they're kind of trying to make them goofy and just straight up aggravating. And my concern is you got a lot of these fans that are now booing the gimmick and booing the way that these characters are being portrayed more than they're necessarily booing them as dastardly heels for what they're doing. It's a weird kind of heat that Omega and the Elite are getting right now.
Real quick, the Machine Brian Cage is backstage with Dasha talking about what's going to happen next week between him and Ricky Starks. But I want to get to the Wheeler Yuta versus Darby Allin match. Now you're asking yourself, wait, are you going to stop and really break down Wheeler Yuta versus Darby Allin? Technically, no. What I'm breaking down is Orange Cassidy and Sting outside going head to head.
That was cool. That was a high point of the show.
I loved it. Sting did the chest pump too. I rewound it. I watched it twice.
Just a minute or so, they got their stuff in. The audience liked it. It's one of those I actually never thought about it for tonight. Like, I had not been pining for Sting to interact with Orange Cassidy, and it wasn't until it got presented to us last night.
And I knew I wanted it.
Exactly. And that's really cool. That's really cool to have these moving pieces on your roster. They don't go in each other's orbit until they do, and you realize, okay, I've wanted this.
Kind of like when we got Ricochet and John Morrison. I didn't know I wanted that match.
Exactly.
All right, the women's title was on the line. This is her first title defense for Britt Baker, DMD. Did you know that Rebel was actually a former Cowboys cheerleader taking on the Native Beast, Nyla Rose with Vicky Guerrero?
I did after last night.
Very impressive. She gets the win with, what's the move called again? I believe it's called the lockjaw.
Yeah.
So Britt Baker wasn't going to lose this match. She was going to win her first title defense. I enjoyed it. I was happy with it. And, you talked about the press conference. Here we are with FTR and Santana. This one was a dud for me.
Yeah. I'm excited about the match. I'm excited for the match taking place in Charlotte. FTR are Carolina guys.
Yeah.
They need to go over in their hometown.
I'm okay with that. FTR is still technically undefeated, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And they need a win. They need a big high-profile win where they've got the crowd behind them, and I think that can take place next week.
Okay. Shivani's in the ring going to interview the face of the Latinos, Andrade El Idolo, about the comments he made last week about the Death Triangle, the Bastard Pack, Penta El Zero Miedo, and Rey Fenix. I love this even more so when Andrade El Idolo says, no, I have somebody to speak for me. I have Chavo Guerrero coming to the ring. I absolutely loved it. And speaking of Guerreros, by the way, that spot in the Britt Baker and Nyla Rose match where she throws a belt at her, lays down, and Nyla Rose, no, and throws the belt back at her and then lays down. You're not going to try to Guerrero me when I got brought in by a Guerrero. Get out of here with that.
That was really good in a segment that I think they really, when they went home the last 5 minutes or so of the match, where you had the false finishes, I think it was really well done. It wasn't your kicking out of each competitor's finishing move 15 times type of false finish. It was a very fun, segment to end the match, and you're exactly right.
No, it was very entertaining. I was very happy with it. A couple setups for the next couple weeks. Christian Cage is with Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy, saying they're going to take on Private Party and the Hardy Family Office. Marvez is backstage at QT Marshall in the factory, and they're going to have Shivani apparently apologize for the shake on his head. The match, freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy taking on the Blade with the Bunny. Blade popped Cassidy again in the mouth with the brass knucks. He wins the match and then takes the knucks from him, pops him in the mouth too. So we got to assume that Blade and Cassidy are done and they're moving on. Yeah. Thoughts?
A concerning spot that Blade did to Orange Cassidy on the turnbuckle. I believe it was a gut wrench powerbomb on the turnbuckle. Cassidy takes it great, then immediately falls to the floor. Just a scary looking spot. I mean, it was executed probably the best way they could execute it, but just one of those risks that you really got to wonder if the visual is worth all the bad stuff that can happen there. I was actually, as this match progressed, I thought Blade looked really good, and I was hoping Blade was actually going to go over here. He dominated a good portion of the match.
Well, it's got a great look.
Yeah, and it was one of those matches, Meathead, where you see somebody looking so strong that it's like, okay, if this is legitimate, if this is a shoot fight, and this person is doing this to this person, psychology speaking, they shouldn't necessarily be able to win. It was kind of like the other night with Charlotte and Rhea. As much as I wanted Rhea to win for all of my individual purposes in the draft, after Charlotte took Rhea out there, took the leg between the steps, kicked the steps 3 times, went back into the figure 4, I'm looking at this. It's like, at this point, if she escapes this maneuver after selling the leg, after having the leg attacked in the steps, I'm going to have a hard time buying into this match. And to a lesser degree, I feel like that's kind of what I got with Blade and Cassidy, in the fact that I thought Blade looked so good, it would make sense for him to go over and win. Wasn't to be. And I wonder if we're going to go in a direction where Orange Cassidy actually breaks the brass knuckles out occasionally, because remember, he put them in his pocket and took them with him.
Yep. I wonder that too. All right. IWGP United States Champion Jon Moxley taking on the Murder Hawk Monster Lance Archer with Jake the Snake Roberts. New Japan's Pro Wrestling's Hakulio, I believe I'm pronouncing it right, who's a member of the Bullet Club. Did you hear what else he is?
Is he
Haku's son.
Is he an orthodontist? Oh, Haku's son. Okay.
That's Haku's son. So I think it was Ming in WCW, Haku in WWF, but that is Haku's son. Probably, you ask, David the Zohan Hero, probably one of the baddest men in wrestling.
Yeah. No, that's I think that's fairly common knowledge amongst the industry.
This one got a little brutal. There was forks to the foreheads. There was 2 tables lined up with barbed wire. Here's what I got really turned off at. They showed a shot of Moxley laying in there, and I saw his skin being pulled.
Yeah.
I damn near lost my lunch.
Yeah.
I don't want to look at
it.
And
here's the thing. I do not mind color when it enhances a story. But we're going into this, anytime you hear Deathmatch, that's what you're trying to sell the match on. And here's the thing. I think the outcome was great. I think they made a really good booking decision here with
giving
what
the
they
belt
ended
to
up
Lance
doing.
Archer, the new champion.
But that could be done in a standard match. It could be done in a match where, okay, both guys get color, but they get it within the context of the match. So Archer gets busted open from a DDT on the floor, which how many times have we seen DDT somewhere and it not cause somebody to bleed? Okay, right. That was where the color initially came in. But then, man, when the fork came out, we now go into these guys bleeding because it happened in the context of the match to, I'm going to take this fork and stab you. And we ultimately got both guys trying to stab the other one with a fork. So you look at this, it's like, all right, which guy that's trying to stab the other one am I rooting for now? And it's just, it's not, it's not to enhance a story. It is about the color and the graphic nature and what this guy is going to do to mutilate the other guy at this point. Not my cup of tea, not the kind of wrestling I personally tune in to watch.
So Lance Archer will be defending next week at Fight for the Fallen against, again, I'm probably saying it wrong, but Hakulio, Haku's son, for the New Japan Pro Wrestling IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship. So Moxley's reign is over.
Yep. And I want to look at the positive takeaways here. It's something for Archer. Archer, ever since he was immediately thrust into that program with Miro, I feel like, booking wise has lost a step. This gets him some credentials back and gets him a title. I think that was a good move. And and Moxley didn't need it. Moxley's Moxley.
I was hoping to get a Moxley defense on pay-per-view from it.
Yeah, well, didn't quite happen that way. But I think overall a good move to give Lance Archer some more credibility.
All right, that is AEW Dynamite. Matthew, I want to hear your thoughts really quick on the last few days of WWE action. We had SmackDown Finn Balor returned
Yeah.
on SmackDown. We had Money in the Bank, the return of Juan Cena, otherwise known as John Cena. On Monday, I absolutely loved. I know you heard the program, and you guys listening have heard the program as well. The little deke move they pulled on us when they had Bobby Lashley out there calling out somebody with an open challenge, and it was Keith Lee, then Goldberg.
Here's the thing, in great stuff. SmackDown was fantastic. The Edge pop to start the show, I thought was great. I replayed that multiple times. Money in the Bank was so much fun, but really kind of looking at all three, and maybe it's because it's the most recent. I'm kind of got the most warm and fuzzies going on over this week's Raw. I just felt like that, to me, top to bottom, was
Karrion Kross was on Raw.
Hitting on more cylinders than it had in years. You had Cena opening the show. You had the great interaction with Cena and Riddle. Here's the thing. Surprises that you don't see coming. Reginald winning the 24/7 champion. Yep. How many people saw that segment? And
how many people saw Nia turning on him?
Surprises on the undercard. And here's something else I want to point out too. As lukewarm as I've been to the whole Jackson Riker Elias feud, man, you put those guys in front of a live audience, they left it all on the table Monday night.
Yeah.
It was a Monday night where I personally think in a lot of ways the undercard was just such a huge story of the show. Just the extra step in a lot of those stories that you saw Monday night, I thought was fantastic. But you're right. The red herring of, okay, this is when Goldberg comes out. No, Keith Lee. And, Goldberg eventually came out. We got what we thought we were going to get, but just surprising.
That we don't want.
Yes. Again with that. And then, of course, that closing segment, my goodness, that was not even on my radar. A surprise cash in with Nikki Ash was not even on my radar.
Nikki, almost the superhero. Again, they still can't figure out where they're going with that, what the pronunciation is.
Well, and here's the thing. I'm looking at this match. I'm saying, okay, most likely Charlotte's going to retain, but do we have Rio win it in front of people? Do we have Becky come out? So basically, it was.
I thought Becky was coming out.
What's going to happen with the title? Where's Becky? Nikki was not even on my radar, which made the cash in all the more of a surprise. And Sanga. You get to see Sanga. You get to see her celebrating with Sanga.
That's right. She went right to him. Nikki, I believe, is married to one of the Viking Raiders, if I'm not mistaken. And then the other one was married to Sarah Logan.
Who's Sanga married to?
Sanga is married to Sanga's wife.
Okay. Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Sanga.
Well, congratulations
is there a baby Sanga? Do we know?
Say again.
Is there a baby Sanga?
I have not.
Does Sanga have any offspring?
I don't know. The offspring told us to come out and play. But on that note, congratulations to you, the listener, for listening to Matthew and the Meathead just ramble on about just stupid stuff. But we appreciate you. Make sure you're liking and subscribing to us on YouTube, Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you're listening, Apple Podcasts. Check us out all over the place, on the Facebook, on the Twitter. We're available. Come check us out. Like, subscribe. It's helping the numbers. I'd like to see the numbers go up a little bit again. We've got our sponsor, Collar and Elbow. I'd like to get some new sponsors. Let's get this thing moving. So tell your friends, tell your mom, tell her to download it. Matthew, anything before we head out?
No, I just completely echo your sentiments. Go give your mother a call and say, Mother,
call your mama. Somebody call my mama.
That I really want to tell you, that I probably haven't told you enough. You should listen to PWR Today with Matthew, the man they call the Meathead.
And then on the beginning of the week with the lovely Linda K, the beer sharing.
That's right. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to exclude Linda. I feel terrible.
The beer sharing, beer chugging Linda K as well. So for Matthew Thomas on the man they call me Meathead, we will talk to you tomorrow morning. So long, everyone.